Hello there lovely people, it's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're going to be looking at some of these. Yes, no doubt you've probably seen these custom shells for Joy-Cons, scattered all over the internet and stuff like that, and these are some nice clear purple ones. But you know what? They hide a little secret, or at least this one does. Yes, this Joy-Con has a fully fledged D-pad, and it works just like a D-pad. I mean, underneath it is still standard buttons, so it's not like a D-pad on, say, the Pro Controller, as you can hear, no doubt. There are audible buttons under there still, but you can't change that without doing some serious mods. And the joy of this is there is no modding beyond the shell, which is very, very important, at least for me it is, because I don't like getting my hands dirty with electronics, because I'm always afraid I'm going to break them. These are produced by a company called Mirian, or they're known as Basetop in America. I don't know why it's different over there, but there you go. And they're available on Amazon and AliExpress and stuff like that. There is one thing that I do want to talk about in regards to them later, but before that, let's actually talk about the actual thing. Now, I've looked at some custom white Joy-Con before, and these are the same Joy-Con. It's just I took them out of these shells because I don't want to butcher too many of my lovely things. And they were fine, they felt very similar to standard Joy-Cons. These are different, however. These are glossy and feel to be made of a much sort of harder plastic. It's difficult to get that across in video. Obviously, they're transparent as well, so it may well be that they had to use this different kind of plastic because the other one, sort of the original, sort of softer one, maybe couldn't be see-through for some reason. They feel a little bit thicker overall as well, but apart from that, construction-wise, they are very solid. In fact, I would say that arguably they feel a little bit more solid than the official ones. But again, that's probably just down to the harder plastic being there. Very shock resistant and difficult to cut through. Yeah, I do know that for a fact. What's also really nice is the SL and SR buttons are the same colour as the rest, because the ones that I looked at before didn't come with any replacement SL and SR buttons, meaning that they were a different colour, which is a bit of a shame, but it wasn't the end of the world. Nevertheless, nice touch. But let's get on to the important thing, the D-pad. How is it to use? Well, as I said before, they're actual physical buttons underneath, unlike the sort of the rolling contacts that you get with a normal D-pad. So it feels fine, it definitely feels infinitely better than the traditional button layout. Is this the right one? It is. I lucked out. I've been playing a lot of games like Shantae and Shovel Knight and stuff like that. 2D games that generally, sort of benefit from having a real D-pad rather than these buttons, and I have to say, it is generally really, really good. It's not like the Pro Controller one because it doesn't have these sort of the rolling contacts and stuff like that. I think I've already said that. It generally feels closer to the Xbox One D-pad because it's just, as I said, it's proper, clicky buttons underneath. But using this when in handheld, honestly, is lovely. And I do like the feel of the Joy-Cons as well. It's a much glossier, sort of more reminiscent of the atomic purple plastic from back in the day, only this is glossy. It's not got that texture over it. But yeah, overall, I really like these. I think they are very, very nice things. But there is something I need to talk about. I know I mentioned it before, but I need to talk about it because whilst the product itself is very good, it took me a long time to get here. Seriously, I've been working for weeks to get this video done. So, right, going back a bit, when I first found out about these, I thought, brilliant, those look really cool, that's a great idea. I thought to myself, I'd love to feature them on the channel. I'll get in touch with the manufacturer and see whether they'll send me some. And so I got in contact, and there was a little bit of a language barrier because they were based, I believe, in Hong Kong or China, I'm not sure. I know some people think they're the same thing, but there's a bit of a grey sort of difference between them. Doesn't matter. The fact is that English wasn't their native language. But after a bit of umming and ahhing, they finally agreed to send some over, and I got them. But it's not these. When they arrived, I assembled them that evening and I thought, brilliant, I got all the little bits and bobs inside here, and I obviously had to take the original Joy-Con guts out of the white Joy-Con and pop them in here, and then when it came to closing it up, I thought to myself, excellent, let's get cracking with this thing, and I noticed that they came with some replacement screws, and they were the same size and shape as the official Joy-Con screws, but they weren't tri-wing, they were Phillips head, and I thought, brilliant, just a standard Phillips head. That's so much easier to use. I am definitely going to use them. So there I was, in my folly, I was screwing these screws up on the final backplate like this, and dum-de-dum-de-dum, 1 went in, 2 went in, 3 went in. Didn't fully tighten them to begin with because, you know, it's best to make sure that it's not going to squeeze too much because sometimes the buttons won't work if they're too tight. So I thought, you know, take it a step at a time. And then the final one, bum-bum-bum-bum-bum, all of a sudden it just started spinning. The screwdriver, not the world. Although the world did as well. The head had broken off the screw, as in it had properly torn off. The shaft was stuck in there, but without a head. So I thought to myself, oh dear. I thought maybe I could remove it by getting some pliers on it and twisting it round. I thought maybe I had enough shaft to work with. And so I started undoing the other screws. And then, as I was undoing one, snap. Another head broke off another screw. I thought to myself, well, okay, this first one's happened, you know, maybe it's just a slight manufacturing defect. You know, I didn't know. All I knew is that, oh dear, something's gone wrong, so I better undo the others. And then it happened a second time. So now I've got 2 screw shafts stuck in the Joy-Con with no head to take them out. I just about managed to get the other 2 screws out, meaning that it wasn't completely ruined. But I couldn't get the backplate on properly because obviously I only had 2 points of contact, and that is not good enough. I thought maybe if I could get the shafts out, then I would be able to use the original Joy-Con screws and everything would be hunky-dory and it wouldn't be an issue. But no, I didn't have enough shaft to work with, as, you know, this idea that I had with the pliers and everything. Unfortunately, it just didn't work. I couldn't even get it done on the one which actually had some shafts sticking out, because the other one was completely flush. Here's a picture. So I thought to myself, well, the manufacturer's probably going to want to know this because they've been shipping with these replacement screws that aren't up to the job. They're too soft, they're too weak, you know, whatever. And so I got back in contact and I said, I'm really sorry to have to bring this up, but unfortunately it seems that the screws that you've provided aren't fit for the task. They've broken, and now the shell is useless. I sent them some pictures, there was a bit of an and an and their conclusion was, it was my fault. Yes, because the screws they provided were literally too soft for the job. It was my fault. Oh, how stupid of me. Of course it's my fault. How ridiculous that I would think to use the replacement screws that you provided. I chatted to them a little bit more and then they said, we can send you another one, but can you put the review out first? How am I supposed to review this bloody thing if it doesn't work? I'm not going to put something up that's disingenuous. I can't even show it on camera because it won't close properly. One wrong move and the back's going to fall off. I just could not get through to these people, and they were so adamant that I had to put the review out first, and then they'd send me a replacement, that in the end I explained to them that I couldn't possibly do that. And I said that if they carry on like this, I'm going to put out a review anyway, which I'm doing, but it's going to be negative. You'd think that would get their attention, but it didn't. They said, I'll ask my boss, and that is the last I heard from them. So I thought to myself, well, I want to do a review of these because I do think that they have the potential to be good. So, out of my own money, I ordered another pair off Amazon of exactly the same things and made sure that I was going to use the original Joy-Con screws that came with the original Joy-Con. Surprise, surprise, when I received my Amazon special, there were no replacement screws in there. I think maybe they'd had numerous complaints and it had resulted in the idea that maybe it was their fault. But the story doesn't stop there, unfortunately. So when the new ones arrived, I started disassembling the old ones and putting them in the new ones using the original screws this time. Unfortunately, you remember how I said that this is made of a harder plastic? The plastic's so hard that it's very difficult to actually properly thread the screws in because they're not pre-threaded holes. I stripped 2 of the original Joy-Con screws trying to screw this thing together, rendering them useless. More importantly, rendering them pretty much impossible to get out of the hole because these ones were actually strong and I didn't want to have to go cutting into the screws themselves because then I was afraid I wouldn't have enough purchase and, you know, actually be able to get them out with pliers like the original idea that I had. So I thought of a way around it and I finally managed to get those screws out and I was finally in a situation where I could build complete Joy-Con. Nearly. How did I get the screws out though? Trigger warning. Yeah! So I was left with some Joy-Con shells and some official Joy-Con screws that weren't tough enough to be able to cut through without stripping the heads. So I was back pretty much to square one, but thankfully I managed to go online and find some replacement screws that had Phillips heads and these ones that weren't made out of I don't know, magnesium or something? They're on it. You know what? I think I'm going to do a test now. Okay, so this is one of the replacement screws they gave, and as you can see, the cut is not in the middle, which is always a sign of quality. And so I'm just going to take my pliers here and apply some modest force, not too much, just like that. And what does it look like now? Oh, I squashed it with a pair of pliers. These replacement screws, they were Phillips head. They were designed for glasses mainly, glasses repair and stuff like that. So I managed to screw them in. They were very strong. They went in fairly easily. It's still a pretty tough plastic to say the least. And this is where we are now. And I finally managed to put this one together. And then I did this one. And this is where I am now. And it took me that long. Honestly, this has taken me about a month to put together. All because generally the plastic's too hard. Can I say they're a good product? I mean, now that they're together, I absolutely love them. I think they look brilliant, they feel very nice in the hand, and the D-pad is just beautiful. Beautiful, absolutely. But were they worth the pain, the stress, and the torment to get here? It's honestly difficult to say. If you do want to get some of these, be aware that it is going to be a job, and you are probably going to have to buy some additional screws as well, because the official ones aren't up to it, and don't even get me started on the ones that they provide. I also highly recommend, if you do get a pair of these, they do come in a variety of colours, that you get them from Amazon. Do not deal with the company directly through AliExpress or anything like that, because they're not interested. They're really not interested. They want to sell things and they want nothing to do with the customer afterwards. So yeah, buy them from Amazon, then Amazon's got you covered. You've at least got some customer service. Oh yeah, one last thing. How's it to use on its side using these as buttons and stuff? It's fine. It's not that bad. It's not as easy as this. But if you're generally going to be using it mainly in handheld or just single player, then, you know, this is probably worth your time. And that, dear friends, is the story of how Alex lost his mind over a pair of replacement Joy-Con shells. It's a sad tale with a happy ending. If you want to pick up a pair of these, then do so with caution. As I say, this is going to be a bit of a task and you may need some specific screws for this. Then there's a link in the description for you to click. But as I say, do so with caution. This was not easy. Also, it's probably going to be an affiliate link, so might get like 3p. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you screw that subscribe button with some replacement, much better screws. And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.